Hey guys, my name is Jet River, and yesterday I had the privilege of taking the Florida Real Estate Sales Associate exam at Pearson VUE, and I passed on my first try. I walked into that exam, I was super prepared and super confident, aced the exam, walked out like I owned the place. And I want to help you guys do the same. So if you've completed real estate school but you're preparing for the exam, this video is for you. This video is going to help you. Before we get into my 4 steps for preparing for the exam and studying for the exam, I do have a few pieces of advice for you. The first piece of advice is take real estate school seriously. You probably took it online. If there were any videos that you fell asleep for or you were playing with your kids during the video, go back and watch those videos. The second piece of advice I have to you is reject hacked advice. Anytime someone says, oh, if you see this word, that means this is the answer. None of that's true. The only way you're going to pass this exam is to actually know the material. So if anyone's giving you some sort of hack, some sort of imposter's advice, just ignore it. And then the next piece of advice I have for you is use practice exams to gauge where you are, not to study. So all the practice exams, all the exams throughout my entire real estate school, the questions are on the real exam are definitely different from those practice exams. They don't just go through and pick out a few numbers and change the numbers. They're different enough to where the only way to pass it is to actually know the material. Oh yeah, another piece of advice, you need to delegate for the first 12 days 3 hours for studying each night. No more, no less. Any more, you're going to overwhelm yourself. Any less, it's not going to be enough. So without further ado, here are the 4 steps to study, prepare, and ace your Florida Real Estate Sales Associate exam. So step 1, you're going to start 12 days before your exam, okay? 13 if you count exam day. But 12 days before, step 1, you're going to spend the next 2 days, day 12 and 11, going over all the summary of important points for each chapter, all the 19 chapters. After you've gone through and reviewed all of those chapters, my real estate school provided an awesome, it's called Booster Shot Review. It's a review kind of study sheet. It's 42 pages. It is a little bit dry. I'll put a link onto it. It is their property. So if they end up removing it from their public website, I'm not going to provide like a plagiarized copy of this. It is their property, but I'll put a link to it. Download it and read over all these. You should read this from cover to cover. That's your first 2 days. 3 hours on day 12 and 3 hours on day 11. Just spend it reviewing this, just reading over it, highlight any important points. Okay? Then on day 10, what you're going to do is every single point that they have in here, every single one, you need to make an open-ended flashcard for. There's about 300 flashcards here. Make them yourself. That's so important. It helps you learn and study the material. Open-ended flashcards. So not true or false this. What you should do is just write down a topic, defeasance. And you should be able to explain exactly what that is. And I have the explanation on the back. But make sure it's open-ended and that you have, if there's some that have a whole bunch of different points, make sure you have all those points and you should be able to study those. And on day 10 through 5, before the exam, because that's day 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, that is 6 days. You should spend your 3-hour practice sessions just going through these flashcards. The first few times, it's probably going to take an hour and a half to get through these. It's going to be brutal the first few times. Look over the flashcard, and then the ones you get right, place it in the correct pile. The ones you get wrong, place it in the I got wrong pile. Okay, and then go through, keep picking up, after you get through all the flashcards, keep picking up those wrong piles until you have the entire stash in the correct pile. And then what do? You pick up the entire pile, start again, okay? These flashcards are going to be your best friend, and I still recommend actually delegating those 3-hour study sessions. Don't do this like during lunchtime, okay? Delegate those 3-hour practice sessions. Then, 4 days before your exam, 4 days before, you're going to go back to this and you're going to read it again, cover to cover. If your real estate school provided videos of summary of important points for each chapter, you're going to want to rewatch those. But there's also going to be 2 chapters that you are going to really review. Chapter 5 and Chapter 11. Go through, make sure that you've gotten all the important points out of those chapters. Make sure that those important points are still in these flashcards. You are still starting every single, even though we're on step 3, you're still starting every single practice session, study session with these flashcards. By now, you should be able to get through them in 15 minutes. It won't take that long, okay? So that's day 4 and day 3, okay? Just review those important points. Now, 2 days before the exam. By this point, before the final step comes, 2 days before the exam, you should be able to rock through these flashcards. You should be able to take practice exams and basically know them. But there's still going to be a stack of flashcards that you continuously get wrong and you just can't get it in your head. It's going to be probably this big. There might be 30 or 40 points, just those pesky issues that you just can't get into your head. 2 days before the exam, what you're going to do, you're going to start the practice session going through all these flashcards. The things that you have any hesitancies about, you're going to create a cheat sheet. Tell yourself, hey, if I were to walk in the exam and I were able to have a 1-page cheat sheet, what would it have on it? And write it down. Create that cheat sheet. And then what you're going to do is it's going to have all the information that is just so hard for you to get. And what you're going to do is you're going to copy that cheat sheet 20 times or 10 times. Just keep copying it over and over for those 3-hour practice exams. You're still starting every session with these, but then you're ending them by copying out that cheat sheet. That's step 4. And then after that, you're going to take some practice exams and you're going to be acing them. Okay, I guarantee it. By the time you create your flashcards, you've reviewed this several times. You create those flashcards. You've gone through these 150 times. You can go through them in 10 minutes by now. You've copied your cheat sheet 20 times. You're going to walk into that exam, you're going to sit down on that computer and you're going to take those questions, that exam, and you're going to know it. It feels so nice walking in there and just being like, right before clicking that submit button, like, I've got this. That's where you want to be. So that's my advice. That's my study strategy for studying for the exam. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Otherwise, thank you for watching.